I thought that would be the end of it. One accidental meeting. One quiet hug. And a goodbye. That finally closed the book, but it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a storm I didn't see coming, because after that day, Zion didn't leave. He stayed, and a week later, he called me. I shouldn't have answered, but I did, and when I heard his voice again, I felt 19 all over again. He asked if we could meet. Just as friends, he said. I wanted to say no. I should have said no, but my heart whispered yes, before my lips could stop it. That we met at the old library. It was almost empty, the same corner where we used to study in silence was still there. Old wooden tables. Dusty light. A place where time had not moved on, unlike us. He brought 2 coffees. Mine still just the way I liked it. He remembered. We didn't talk about the past. We just talked about books, work, how the city had changed, how it hadn't. We laughed. And for a moment, it felt like no years had passed, but under all the words, there was silence. A silence so loud, it almost drowned everything else. The silence of what we didn't say, the silence of everything still burning beneath the surface. I went home that night and couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, with my husband beside me, and for the first time in my married life, I felt guilty. Not because I did something wrong, but because I wanted to. Zion started showing up in my days again. A message here, a coffee there, a random walk where he'd just be passing by. It was harmless at least, that's what I told myself, but the truth? It was never harmless. You don't light old fires and pretend they won't burn, and I was already burning. Quietly. Deeply, the kind of burn that doesn't show on skin, only scars the soul. One afternoon, I saw him waiting near the park. I took my kids to. He waved. I hesitated, but my children ran toward him. They remembered him from that one cafe meeting. He picked up my youngest and smiled at me, and I smiled back, like it was the most natural thing in the world. That night, I broke down in the bathroom. I cried without sound, sat on the cold floor, held my knees, because I didn't know what was happening to me, because I did know. And it scared me. I didn't love my husband the way I had loved Zion, but I had made a choice. A commitment. And I had children who looked up to me, and yet, here I was, shaking like a girl with a crush, whenever a memory walked into the room. With a familiar face, I tried to avoid him. Stopped replying. Didn't meet him for 2 weeks, but Zion, he knew me too well. He left a note in my mailbox, just 4 words, don't erase us again. I stood there with that note in my hands like it was burning through my skin. I didn't know what he meant. Or maybe I did, and that made it worse. We met again at a quiet bench in the old park, the same one we used to walk past years ago. He looked at me, like he was seeing through every wall I had built over the years, and then he said it, I still love you. I didn't breathe, because hearing it was like hearing something sacred, forbidden, holy, devastating. I still love you, he repeated, even after all these years. Even after all the silence. Even after knowing you're not mine. I wanted to scream, cry, run, kiss him, but I just sat there, frozen, because everything I had buried inside me was alive again. I can't do this, I said quietly. He nodded. I know. Then silence. I stood up. He didn't follow. I walked away, but every step felt like betrayal to him. To my husband. To my children, and worst of all, to myself, because I knew that I was in love with someone I had no right to love anymore.